I can tell you what it all is.
Mhm.
You know, every single drug there is, even all the way down to the cigarette, it's a synthetic love offered up by the devil.
Mhm.
It comes in powder form, liquid form, and many other forms. But all it is a vice, you know, and it keeps you a slave, all right? And you're a slave the rest of your life. The sin is what it is. It's a sin problem. But but he makes, you know, he's the one that implicates the feeling that you get on the drug itself, okay? And if you lacked here, and I'm proud of you as a son, okay, growing up, then the very first shot that you take, all right, he's going to give you a shot of, it's going to be exactly like somebody told you they are proud of you. You're going to get the exact same feeling that you would have got if Dad said, I'm proud of you, son, I love you, you know. Or if you're rich, okay, if you're rich and you're successful and you use what he's going to do for the rich and successful, he's going to make them feel more successful. He's going to make them feel empowered, okay, make them feel more important, uh, make them feel like a rock star, okay? And you ain't going to be able to say anything except for, I love this.
Nope.
You're going to be able to say, I love this feeling. Of course you are, because you already loved that feeling as a child. You didn't know what that feeling was. And the devil himself knows what feelings you love already.
Yep.
He already knows it. And that's because Satan's studying us as a child, okay? We've all been swung around the yard by our hands, okay? And our siblings or mom or dad, or not my dad in my case, but have been swung around the yard till we're dizzy, and then they let us go and we run off sideways, okay? And then we run right back to them and say, again, you know? And he usually starts that off with the cigarette. The very first feeling you get off of it is the exact same feeling you got off the merry-go-round, the roller coaster. And all you can do is jump up and say, again. And that's all you want to do. And for me, the first time that I used a hard drug, the very feeling I got was I'm proud of you, son. I love you. I'm proud of you. And that's what I wanted. But I wanted my dad to tell me he was proud of me. You know, I was a straight A student from from kindergarten to the 5th grade. I loved school, you know, and I loved it because I was good at it, and I couldn't wait to get off the school bus, make that half-mile trip up our driveway, okay, up a mountaintop, and walk through the door and hear my dad say, I'm proud of you, you know, with that report card. But it never happened. But whenever I used, I was fine, you know. Here you go, I'm proud of you. Well, my name's Jeremy Garland. I grew up in a household of 17. Early in my years, I'd experienced with marijuana, which led to so many doors, and before you know it, I had a needle in my arm. I was addicted to cocaine, which that led to every other drug in the world. Toxic relationships, being completely unplugged from everything that I should have been. I had children that I couldn't be a father to. As a young man, I was saved and baptized and had a little brief 6-month spell of not smoking cigarettes, not doing any kind of drugs, and experienced the Holy Ghost. But I let a stumbling block come between me and that. And so I spent several more years in active addiction, 26 years to be exact. I didn't want to be a drug addict, and knew I didn't want to be a drug addict for the last 15 years of my addiction. I'd even cried out to God to get sober several times, and I tried every way in the world to get sober. I tried isolating. I tried separating myself from the people that I knew, but even placing a hedge between me and them people and isolating, I just couldn't get it. And of course, I'd ask God to heal me several times, but I never meant it, not once. I know that I didn't mean it, even though I wanted it. I didn't want to be an addict. I wanted to be a father. I wanted to be a son. I wanted to be a big brother. But I come to a place in my life to where I'd found myself in jail. And I'd spent about 57 days before I even felt worthy enough to ask God to remove me from the place and make a way where there seemed to be no way. And I'd started ministering to a few guys after about 25 days in jail, and one night I asked God to deliver me from the place that I was at, and I didn't have a bond hearing in sight for 3 months. And the very next morning, I didn't have a bond hearing, I didn't have a court date, I didn't have nothing for 3 months out. And I prayed that prayer to God, and the next morning, against all odds, the guards woke me up and said, "Mr. Garland, you got a court hearing," okay? And they took me on a big screen across the hall to see the judge, and the judge said, "Mr. Garland, I don't know why I'm doing this. Don't ask me why I'm doing this, but as far as I'm concerned, you have a signature bond. Pack your stuff." And so I went back to the streets, and after God doing even that for me, you would think I'd have stayed sober. I was facing all kinds of time. I was indicted in 2 different counties, and I was looking at a bunch of time. And anyways, I went back to use. And I found myself at my regular court hearing, which was 3 months out, and I'd done everything in the world to pass a drug screen. And the prosecuting attorney asked me or the judge asked me if I could pass a drug screen. And I told him yes, of course, and which I was lying. And so they handed me a probation sentence, which should have never happened to start with. And I'm walking out the double doors of the courthouse, and when I make it out the double doors, the Lord says, "Is that all you're going to do? Is that what you're going to do after everything I've done for you?" And I mean, spoke right to my heart. I busted back through the doors. I walked up to the judge, and I said, "Your Honor, you asked me if I could pass a drug screen a while ago, and I told you yes, but I was lying. And if I did pass it, it's because I stayed up all night long, taking everything in the world to try to keep from going to jail and pass this drug screen that I knew you were going to give me." And I said, "I've never been offered any help for drugs, not once, okay? And if you don't send me to rehab and demand me to go to treatment, then I'll go out here and I'll spend the rest of my life doing drugs." And he said, "Well, I've never heard anything like that in my life." He said, "You're wanting me to demand you to go to treatment?" I said, "Yes, I've never been offered any kind of help." I said, "I'm a drug addict. That's what's wrong with me." And he said, "All right, Mr. Garland, you got 10 days to be in a treatment center." And I was there. I was at the treatment center about 10 days, and I was taking a shower, and I told God, I said, "Lord, I've asked you 1,000 times to heal me from this addiction, but I mean it this time, and you know I do." And the sound of the water changed in the shower head. The sound of the water going down the drain changed, and I knew that he did it right then. And I said, "Well, Lord, since you've already went this far, then I'm asking you to restore my health too, because I know I've killed myself. I should have already been dead." And he did that too. And I ain't never turned back. I instantly started working for the treatment center I went through. I started giving back what was so freely given to me. It changed my life dramatically. I had a peer support that pushed me to and inspired me to do everything that I'm doing now, which is peer recovery now. But now I have an amazing job where I get to help people. I mean, I shouldn't even get paid for it. I'm already doing what I love to do. I shouldn't even get a paycheck for it, but I do, and God seemed fit to give me a job that He'd already given me, with a paycheck. And anyway, since then, since recovery, but number one, since Jesus, He gave me a heart transplant. He busted my chest open. He took my heart of stone out of my chest, and He gave me a heart of flesh. And since then, He's restored my children to me. Still got a couple that I'm working on, that God's working on. My 2 oldest sons. I hope to one day be able to speak to them again. But all my other children, the Lord's restored to me. I have a beautiful wife. I have my son in my life. I got 2 beautiful stepdaughters. I have a house, a couple cars, just all the things that the Lord's blessed me with. It's crazy. It's the way that I look at recovery now, the way I look at addiction now, the way I look at my life now is just, it's too much for me to even fathom. But Jesus, I tried everything else in the world except for Jesus. I said, God help me, God help me, God help me. But I'd never asked Jesus to take care of me. Well, mainly this. I didn't want to hear anybody's story, okay, unless they was an addict, okay? You know, therapist / teacher / anybody. But now I'm more interested in hearing the side that wasn't in the addiction, you know. The child that was hurt, the mom that was hurt, the grandparents that was hurt, that never had nothing to do with addiction, okay? Now I'm more interested in their story, okay, than I am the addiction side, you know, and what it does to family, how it tears families apart. What's different now from being in active addiction is I'm no longer a slave. I'm happy, joyous. I'm free. I'm free. All I have to do is the next right thing now. That's the difference. I'm no longer chained down. I try not to make any decision now unless God's in it. I don't make any decision now unless God's in it. The devil's crafty though. You know, you can be 35 years in recovery and you get good and mad, and the first thought you have, hear me, is to just hit the eject button, you know, and say, heck with every single thing I've done, let's just go get high. You know, that's what the devil does. So he tries to catch you when you're vulnerable. He's got a limited time, you know, to do everything he's going to do to you. And, man, I'm just overwhelmed in joy. You know, I know I got a destination now. That's the difference. That's the difference. Because I know where I'm going when I leave now. If they're in addiction and they want to come out of it, first thing first is pray to God that He'd make a way, you know, where there seems to be no way. And He makes the way, you know. Sometimes we get sent to treatment on account of Casey law, okay, or court mandated, all right, but we just don't see God's hand in that at the time, okay. But God's in control of everything, all right. He owns the 1,000 hills and all the cattle on it. You know, He holds the king's heart in His hand and He turns it about which way He wants it to go. And so a lot of times that is the Lord placing you in these positions, okay, to get help, you know. And it seems like we're just forced there sometimes. But that's God moving in your life already. And if you're in treatment, what I say is do not leave before the miracle happens. It's going to happen.
Stick it out.
Yeah, stick it out. Yeah, don't leave. Don't make the process longer than it has to be. All right? And the people that are hurting, okay, you know, going through withdrawals, this and that, they can look at it like this. And I tell my guys this. I say, look, you might be hurting right now, okay? But you can say to yourself, okay, and say to the devil right now that you got me hurting right now, all right? You've had me hurting 10 million times, but this is the last time that I ever have to feel like this. You know, I'm going to stick with this, and it is the last time that you get to hurt me. You know, my advice to them is to make 2 choices every time they get up in the morning. First, choose to follow God and His plan, and the second one, choose who you're going to have around you, who you're going to have in your boat. Okay, what Jonah are you going to let in your boat? That's what I would say. Most definitely, who are you going to have around you? Because if you show me your friends, I'll show you your future. I guess I just want to say that the Lord's able, you know, and that you could get 1,000 years of recovery. Okay, you could have 1,000 years of recovery with a program, all right, and you might stay sober the rest of your life. But if you don't have Jesus in your life, then it's all for nothing. is all for nothing. So what good is sober if when you die, you don't get to go to heaven? Right? And if you want to be free, then seek Jesus. Yeah, I think that every single time that the Lord's presented himself to you, tugged on your heart, tried to get you up out of the pew to the front altar, I think that replays over and over and over and over all the chances and opportunities that you had to get right. That's what I think the hell of it is.